This is Hustling Homes, where the grind never sleeps and the deals never die. Hustle, keep building, keep hustling, keep building, keep hustling, keep building, keep building, keep building, keep hustling, keep building, keep closing, cash flow rising up.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Hustlin' Homes. This is episode 28, and today we're going to be talking about how to start investing while working full-time and how to build confidence as a new real estate investor. Because most people don't start with freedom, they start with a job and a lot of doubt. Before we get into all that, let's go off with how our week went. Jeff, give me some updates.
Yeah, so I've switched up the strategy a little bit. I mean, I've still been making calls, right? Trying to get some properties under contract. But what I've also been doing is just reaching out to realtors and letting them know what I'm doing and what I'm looking for and the houses that I'm looking for to build my network a little bit, right? To hopefully have some inbound leads as well, right? Instead of just cold calling sellers agents. That's one thing that Ben was really pushing with these legend calls, right? Because he's going in there trying to build up their business and get a foothold in a market where some of them haven't even been in, and trying to get some information. So what he's doing is actually pulling lists of all the realtors, the wholesalers, that sort of thing, and then just reaching out and kind of explaining what his business plan is and what he's doing and that sort of thing, right? To try to build his network out there, to try to just work directly with them to see what's upcoming on the market and get better information of, potentially some better areas to invest in, where to be looking, that sort of thing. And kind of just, like I said, more networking, right? More networking and finding people to do business with, right? So I've been taking more time to do that, right? So hopefully that'll pay off, right? Maybe we'll get some more followers too. We'll get some more people watching our content, looking at our stuff, right? Pushing out our stuff, and just, like I said, it's all part of the game, right? I mean, we were talking about that last week too. It's really the networking. It's really a people relationship game, right? And you're not really. It's one thing when you're cold calling to try to find a deal on a property. It's another one to outreach to see which people you actually want to work with and if they want to work with you and if it's valuable, and to have more of that relational conversation, right? Rather than just like a pure transactional type of thing, right? So just, doing a lot more networking and outreach.
It's funny when you say that, just because, you know what, you're more numbers person, analytical, data driven, not much for the networking type. So I know it's a
No,
bit tougher for you to do, to reach out and start to network with other people. And that's kind of what I do. So I'm proud to see you coming out of your shell and start to network more and making videos, posting on the Hustle Homes page. People love to hear you talk and bitch about stuff. So that's the good thing. As you can see in our reviews, because like this week, I might have 2 deals locked up, and I was on Matt Pichet's Insiders Club meeting there, and I've been trying to figure out a way to get this deal for cheap. And Andrew Hines threw out the idea. I never even thought about it, but was creative financing. This house is paid off. It was a rental house for these people. They're not in a rush to really sell it. It's a good deal at what the price is already at. But if I get even better and get them to seller finance it to me so it doesn't have any money come out of my pocket, where I could even start renting it right away. So that's kind of got my eyes looking at that. And then, of course, marketing, right? I've been pushing out videos. You've been pushing out content. We've got, 18,000 views through the Hustle and Homes page on Facebook. Almost 12,000 views on YouTube now. We've only been doing that for like a week and a half. Spotify's been doing great. So we've really been doing a lot of marketing lately here. And I think it's been good. We're getting lots of good feedback on the shows. It's pretty much really all I've done this week besides work. And that's kind of what today's topic is going to be about is, working a 9 to 5 while also trying to do real estate, because it's not the easiest, but it is doable. I was talking to a few students too when they were doing the last, I think it was Revival Boot Camp, and one of the students called me and was questioning about how this whole thing actually works. Is it real? Do people actually do this? And I'm like, well, yeah, I literally work Monday to Friday. I get off work around, 5:30, get home around 6:15, live out of town. Then I get here. Pretty much I hop on, make my social media posts, and then I'm looking at deals until 2 in the morning, go to sleep, get back up again at like 7, and just start the day all over again. Because I don't have time to get my calls in with the way our time zones are.
Yeah.
Time I'm done work, I don't know. I still got to get out of that mindset. Like Ben said before, you can make calls at 10 o'clock at night if you really want to. Who cares if they didn't want to answer their phone? They don't have to.
Hmm.
But I'm like everyone else where that's just, stuck in my head that don't call after 6, don't call after 7. So I do all my phone calls on a Saturday where I spend the whole day just making calls, which, I should get into a better habit of that, doing it during the week or whatever. But what's your opinion on that? I know you work from home, I think, right?
Yep. Yeah, and my schedule's kind of all over the place, right? A lot of the clients that I've been working with, they're overseas, right? So my time schedule is a little bit inverted, and it's more on like a contract basis, right? So it's kind of off and on, right? So I have a little bit more free time here and there to hop on these calls, these training calls, and just to kind of schedule call making, right? So I do have a little bit more time to do that. But yeah, as far as, working full time and doing this thing, all it really is, it's all about time management and how much work you really want to put into it, right? If you're coming home at the end of the day, you just want to chill and relax and, watch a couple hours of Netflix or do something like that, right? I mean, that time could be put to pulling some leads, right? Making a couple of calls, doing that sort of thing. And it really doesn't take that much time, right? Even if you dedicate, let's say 2 hours out of your day to pull some leads and make some calls and make some connections and do some outreach, eventually you're going to have some success, right? And it's treating it almost as like a side hustle, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's really all it is, right? It's the most successful people, the people who have the most and who push forward the most, they're absolute animals, right? They don't work on a 9 to 5 schedule. They get up in the morning, they're just eating, breathing, living this thing, always thinking about what they can do, the next deal, if it makes sense to them, right? They really use their time wisely, is what it is, right? And during those, say, 2 hours that you have allotted to do this type of stuff, or that you've allotted yourself to do this, it really has to be distraction free. All right. No, nothing going on in the background. Put the social media away, turn your phone over. We use the CRM, right? So it's not like we need the cell phone. Put the cell phone somewhere else, right? And just start making some calls and just be more efficient with your time. So it's easy to say, right? It's
It's
just
easier to say than done.
of course it is. Of course it is. And it's a lot tougher to get into that habit of just driving forward and getting it done, right? But the more you do it, the easier it gets. And I know Ben's doing another 30 day to a deal thing coming up. I think they start next week,
Like Monday, I
right?
think, yeah.
Yeah, and that's your 2 hours right there, right? Those people that are in the hot seat and that have committed to do it, right? That's 2 hours that you're just going in, right? And you better be prepared, right? When you're sitting in front of an audience of, I don't know how many people are going to be in there. Who knows? Maybe 60, 70, 80 people watching you
Probably more
make
than that
calls.
now with all the other
Yeah,
people joining. It is growing.
right.
But
It kind
I
of kind
mean,
of lights
that's
a
also
fire under
easier.
you.
It's also easier said than done too, right? Because when they had 30 days to a deal, I would literally sit at work, I'd pop a headphone in, I'd sit there and listen, but you really can't, interact or do anything. And even still to this point, they have skills labs to help you find time throughout a day to do your calls,
Mhm.
where I'm still at work, right? So the other tough part is with ADHD, where I'm on meds for it, but it's still so hard to focus on a lot of stuff. I mean, 1 minute as you can already see, I did the kids book, I'm doing the podcast, I'm doing real estate. I literally like the jack of all trades and master of none, like that saying goes, right? So I find focusing down is pretty tough. And that's why I try, like, you really need discipline. That's the biggest thing
Yep.
between time management and discipline, because like you said, people come home from work, they want to go watch Netflix, they want to, uh, play video games. And I used to be that way as well. And I realize now, before I literally do anything, I think, is this going to make me money or am I going to learn something from it? Because I'm not going to
Hmm.
gain education or financials, then I ain't going to do it, right? Like, I had to cut out Netflix, or if I wanted to do something like that, I have to multitask while doing something productive that's going to keep pushing the needle, right? So if I'm watching videos, it's either Cardone, training videos, Ben's training videos, webinars, kind of just putting things together, because I realize there's not enough time in a day. I feel like the days go by so quick, and you literally have to cram everything together. So when you're working out, you're listening to an audiobook, instead of, piecing it all piece by piece. But yeah, no, time management I find is very, very tough. And I've tried different types of things of trying to break down each day by half an hour of what I should be doing for that half an hour period, and it still
Mhm.
doesn't work. You fall off track. So what keeps you on track to keep going forward?
I think seeing other people just win, right? Just win and seeing them make money and doing deals, it just keeps me motivated to keep hammering the phone and searching for those deals, right? And trying to figure stuff out because really, like for me, like I'm 100% committed to this.
Hmm.
The real estate business, I definitely want this to be the end game, right? Build up the business where in 3, 4, 5 years, I don't have to worry about money anymore. I'm not worried about, a paycheck coming in. I'm not worried about, if I need to go fly somewhere, if I want to go on vacation, or if I want to go to a conference, if I want to do whatever the hell I want, right? If my parents need something, I'll be able to help them out. Just not have to worry about that financial aspect of life, right? And that takes a while, and it takes a lot of sacrifice and commitment at the beginning and delayed gratification, which is not easy to do, right? Everybody wants those quick, easy wins that get rich quick and move on to the next one, right? It's just, you're not going to do that without putting in the work and putting in the effort and building the structure and the time management and the discipline and all of that stuff that goes into being successful, right? It really does. It takes work, right? And I mean, some people can get there a little bit quicker if they have the resources. You can hire some people to maybe help you with some of the more monotonous stuff, which is, again, I guess that's one of the big advantages of the people that are paying for it being in that legend program is they're bringing in marketing people, right, to do their cold calling, to qualify their leads, to do all of that, so that everything coming inbound, right, if there's a deal on the table, it's already a warm lead, they've already been contacted, right, they're not worrying about pulling the leads, doing all the organization, doing all the nitty gritty shit of the business is really what it is, right?
You pretty much
You're paying,
delegated.
yeah, you're paying somebody, $15 an hour to do that stuff, to do all of like the heavy lifting, that tedious work where, you're really just zoned in on, okay, if this is a good deal, getting funding, guiding them, right? Making sure, kind of doing that quality control type of thing, right? Which is my background. That's what I do, right? To see if their calls are going well, what they can improve on, managing the staff, and then you're just getting a lot more output that way. You got to think if you have two people calling for you and pulling leads and filling up the system and qualifying the leads and doing all that, something's going to bite, right? And if something's good, now you're going in there and closing on the deal at the end, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of advantage, if you have those resources. Right now, I'm not at the stage where I can hire somebody and do that stuff, right? And I have the time to do it and learn the business and grind away, right? So it's all on your shoulders whether or not you want to do it or not.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because, well, first thing I want to mention, you're saying it's not like a get rich easy or get rich quick thing, right? And I'm bad for it. I will go to market on TikTok, but then I start doom scrolling, and that's the worst part. And it's funny because I came across a channel called Unethical Ways to Make Money. It's just, shoot, there's some, it's sad, but some smart ideas. Like there's one was saying, find a niche restaurant that won't do Uber Eats or anything like that, and then go make a website and connect your website to theirs, so that when an order comes through on yours, it orders it for to go on theirs, and then you hire someone to go pick it up, like an Uber driver to go get it for you.
Yeah.
So you're profiting off of someone else's labor with no overhead cost. Another one was, I'm not saying it's a good idea, but it was pretty funny. It was put laxatives on bread, throw it in a parking lot, a really busy, fully packed parking lot, let the birds, do their thing, and then sit at the entrance with a pressure washer and offer $25 per car to wash.
Actually,
Pretty simple.
what I saw one guy do, and it was actually super interesting, is he basically got a $250,000 loan, and he bought a private plane. He bought an airplane, and then he leased it out to a flight school at, I don't know how much a month it was, right? Like either 8,000 or 9,000, right? So he's covering the payments on the debt, right?
Yeah.
To buy this fucking thing. And then he's leasing it out for 8,000 a month, and he's coming home clean with 6,000 a month just on this rent. Obviously he knows somebody at the flight school or whatever, right? He had that connection, he had that in to be able to do that. But it's super interesting what people are doing to actually make money and create a business, because he's solving a problem, right? And that's
And
really
that's just
what it
it.
is. And somebody's willing to pay for it, and it depends how you market it and your network and what you're doing. And it's just, like I said, it's it's super interesting, right? And that's the type of stuff that I'm looking at now on social media, right? It's either we're creating content and we're posting it, and I mean, you've been really good about figuring out the algorithms and seeing what works and the different thumbnails and the taglines. And I mean, I'm pretty much just good for coming on here and fucking yapping about shit. And for some people, for some reason, people like to hear that. I have no idea why. It is
I
what
think
it
it's
is.
your good
So
looks or it's your beard, because apparently I still, that still goes to my head that my mustache is as unstable as the market.
that was a good comment. That was actually
That
funny.
was a good comment. I'll admit that. At
Yeah.
least the market will correct itself on like my mustache.
But it's interesting. It's interesting, and I think people like that sort of raw footage of stuff, right? Not the overly edited, overly rehearsed type of stuff. Like a lot of that stuff on YouTube is you have to have your proper editors and all that stuff, but it's just overly produced, right? And it just seems like people like that raw, down to earth. It just seems more genuine, and I mean,
Yeah.
people have been taken to it, which is super interesting. It's just now we need to convert that into potential incoming leads and contacts and emails and filling up your list, right? So now you're using the outreach and the social media to funnel potential leads and business and lenders and whatever interest into your business, right? So that's kind of that next step.
And you know what? Like, we have been building credibility. And it's funny because a lot of our videos now we're posting there, it does get people to think. Like, I mean, one of the ones I see the most comments on was, I put out there was, do we actually need college?
Uh-huh.
And people were debating it, right? Like, some guy says you need college. And I was thinking that as well as, driving to work one day, that, I enjoy doing this. I enjoy doing what I do. And I try and tell people what I do and try to get them into it as well. But it's not for everybody. Not everybody
No.
wants to be an entrepreneur. And like you said, it's finding that sore spot and finding a way to fix it for people. And that's pretty much what an entrepreneur is, right? You capitalize off of things like that. And I thought, okay, well, you know what? If everybody actually just went and did real estate investing, or if everybody went and did stock investing, well, then you don't have people that are doing the trades. Everybody's just sitting at a computer. There's no one becoming doctors. So I guess, like, they are both needed for sure. And again, like, it's not for everyone. And there is a lot of neat opportunities out there. Like, I mean, real estate's just one of them. But people are making businesses out of everything, right? Like you were
Yeah.
saying there, they get in the jet and finding that spread. As long as you're making, like, living in the spread, like Ben says, right, where the money's at. But
Yeah,
like
who would have thought
delegating
of
as
that?
well.
Who would have thought of that? I never even knew that was an option, right? And I saw it, I'm like, man, that is just, it's interesting about just what people think about in their creativity. And again, you have to have the mind for it. You have to be willing to take the risk and get it
Creative.
done, right? I mean, who's willing to take out 250,000 to go buy a fucking plane to make money with it, right? Not a lot of people are going to take that risk, you know.
But
But
even
but it worked out, right? For this one in this particular case, it happened to work out, and it's just like I said, it's interesting. He saw that opportunity and he got it done and he took the risk and now he's benefiting off of it, right? Now it's lucrative for him. So it's just, it's willing to take that jump. It's willing to be a little bit creative and think outside the box. But with real estate, it's again, that's kind of like a one-off type of thing, right? Real estate is different. Like there's a set process, we have our 4 exits. We know what we're looking for. You can look at numbers, you have historical data, especially in the States, right? Everything's kind of at your fingertips. So you can make a best educated guess of whether or not a deal is going to work or not, right? So you're really de-risking it and you're putting your money into a tangible asset, right? A hard asset that will always be able to make you money because there's always people looking to rent. People always need a place to live. They will always need a place to live. And our populations are just increasing. And I don't believe housing construction is keeping pace with that. And then another thing is that we had that big burst of population, the baby boomers and everything, and now they're looking to retire and offload their portfolio. They've already made their money. They're happy with it, and I hear
yeah,
that so much now is that they just want to get out of the game. They don't want to deal with the hassle of the rentals and this and that and dealing with the properties. They just want to retire and be happy, and that's it, right? And I hear that quite often, and I think we're going to hear that even more in the next 5 to 10 years. So yeah, it's just being at the right place at the right time and getting stuff done, right? But if you're not in the game, you're not looking at it, you're not interested in it, you're not, like Ben said, you're not swinging the bat, you're not making those deals, you're not throwing out the offers, it's never going to happen. You have to start somewhere.
Well,
And even if it's you're say you're making 5 offers a month, eventually something's going to hit. And if you're doing that part time, say you do 2 or 3 deals in a year part time, that's a huge supplement to your income where you could go on vacation or you could invest a little bit more. You could do whatever the hell you want with it, really. All right, but it's just some more added security. It's just, it's a little bit of sacrifice of time.
yeah. Well, I mean, like getting started out working full time, so we've already pretty much talked about finding small times to actually make phone calls, find leads, sacrificing your time on the evenings. Like, you will become a hermit. I know I am. I literally don't go to parties, don't hang out with friends. I'm fully dedicated like this as well. So if you are new and starting out, if you got weekends, use them to your advantage and get as much time out of them as you can. Showings in the evenings, making phone calls on your lunch breaks. I know I've had to do that where, you're setting up deals that way. Trying to think of what you just said though. Damn, you go through so many topics in such a short amount of time. It's so hard to keep track. There
My
was
brain
something on
just
top of
keeps
my head and I
firing. It
totally
just keeps
forgot what it
firing,
was.
right?
Oh,
That's what I'm good
risk.
at, just rambling.
Risk is a big thing that not people are afraid to take, right? And
Mhm.
that's the only way you're going to get reward. And I know I used to be afraid of taking risk. And everybody I've ever talked to was, wasn't that risky? But I love how Ben put it was, what's the worst that's going to happen? People aren't afraid of risk. They're afraid of embarrassment because you go
Yeah.
bankrupt. But you know what? You can restart. Your credit doesn't really matter. It's just a number, right? Your credit score, when you're starting to do this kind of stuff, as long as you fail and gain knowledge, you learn from your mistakes to keep moving forward, then you can't fail. Oh, that's kind of one thing I was thinking about was the whole risk and reward thing is that people are, like I said, afraid to take that.
Well, it's just because it's the debt thing, right? It's the whole being afraid of debt where, we've sort of shifted our mentality that debt is not bad as long as you're leveraging it to buy assets and then your assets will pay for the debt, right? So that's the whole thing there. It's just you have to be smart about what you're doing. You have to have a plan. You have to have a process, which we do, which we're following. And, you're really eliminating as much risk as possible, right? I mean, I think stocks and crypto and all that is even riskier, right? A company could just go bankrupt, all the stocks go to zero. It happens all
Or
the time.
the crypto where people rug pull, right?
Exactly. It happens all the time. When does a home ever go to zero? Never. Never. It's always sitting on a piece of land that's always going to be worth something, right? There's always going to be value there. In an up market, in a down market, doesn't matter. There's always some value there. And
Yeah.
we're already going in and finding deals at a discount, which is our whole process, right? That's the key fundamental here is finding properties at a discount. And you're already leveraging a down market at this point anyways, right? Whatever's going to happen, you're factoring that in. So if you're buying a house at 80% of fair market value, even if the housing prices drop 10%, you're still laughing, right? So
Yeah.
it's just following the plan, right? Following the process and putting in the legwork to see which deals make sense.
But keep in mind though, I mean, we have a process because we paid for mentorship.
Of
A lot of
course.
people are very stubborn, like, I'm learning this on my own. I don't want mentorship.
Sure.
And they don't have those processes, and that's why mentorship is so important. Like, I was talking to a student last night, Solo Reyes, and he lives in Saskatchewan. He wanted to, see what we could do to work together on real estate. And I was looking at the deals he had, and it was funny because we were looking in Saskatoon, and he goes, "I found this house," and I look at it, and I'm like, I've done this long enough now for like, I've been in real estate for what, almost 4 years here, or whatever, with Ben for 1 year. So you start to see the little things, and I started listing off. I'm like, okay, well, the one that's not worth that price. Two, dated, dated, dated. And Solo's like, well, that looks really nice on the inside. And he goes, well, then why isn't it selling? And I said, because it's in a very bad neighborhood. That's where I was showing you in Saskatoon where all those little assaults and everything were.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh my God. I said, yeah, like, you do not want that. You won't sell that. You'll never get that price for it. So he goes, what happens then? I said, well, I guarantee what happened to that house was someone from Ontario seeing a cheap price on a property, decided to buy it. They made it look pretty, and it does look nice, but then didn't realize how bad the area was, and now they're stuck with it because they didn't have a proper process to do a deal, and now they're going to lose money on it because of that. I said I wouldn't pay any more than $120,000 for that house, and they're asking 348. Crazy price difference, right? So That's why having a process is a big thing, and mentorship, right? I mean, there's lots of mentors out there. There's so many I've seen. Every time I open up Facebook, as soon as you get into that algorithm, you just see all these people are showing up as mentors, right? And it's like, I don't know who they are. I've never seen them before. Never even heard of them. So if you do find a mentor, just do your due diligence and actually do some looking into who they are.
And also, if these guys aren't doing any deals and selling any real estate, do not fucking listen to them. Right? They have to
True.
practice what they preach. And I mean, that's the good thing
Absolutely.
about Ben. Like he literally, well, one of the students found him a good deal on a house and he bought it within 2 weeks. Right? So he puts his money where his mouth is. Right?
Well, even
He knows
Yuval
what he's doing.
almost bought Yuval's deal there. But,
Yeah.
the other thing is every mentor has a different process.
Sure.
So I've seen 4 mentors now, right? Like Darren Boros does real estate. He does developing. So
Mhm.
nothing to do with single family homes. Ben, single family homes. Brittany Arneson is like hotels and multifamilies and storage lockers. And Matt Pichet is pretty much land with Andrew Hines, right? So I guess
They
you got
buy
to
a
know
lot of
what you
homes
want to
too.
invest in first. What's that?
Yeah, they buy a lot of homes too, right? I mean, but he's kind
Majority
of
of
buying all
land.
over the place.
All over, yeah, but a lot of it's been land lately. I've been looking at all the stuff and what he's
Yeah.
talking about. It's because you know what? It's easy to get and it's easier to sell. If you know a
Mhm.
hot market with land, there's no emotional attachment to that compared to, let's say, someone's family home from way back when and their kids grew up in that house. Land is just bare land, right? So if you get it for a smoking deal, it's easy enough to sell it, especially if it's off the market. But we still got to do a land conversation one of these days.
Yeah,
But,
but in the end, the fundamentals are still the same, right?
yeah,
The negotiating, the networking, the deal making, finding value, um, is just, it really is. The fundamentals are the same. The process might be a little bit different. The buy box might be a little bit different. What you're looking at,
yeah.
profit margins a little bit different, but in the end, the skill set is still the same.
The number one rule, no matter what skill set or what you're buying, get a deal. The golden rule, get a deal.
Yeah, get it at a discount.
Now, is there anything you would have done differently starting out working as doing this? Like I know, like I said, it's a bit easier for you to do calls than for me.
I think for me, I should have just picked one market and stuck to it, and then just been
Yes.
hammering away. I mean, I have really zeroed in on my market now, and I am gaining more traction now. I've also built my skill set better, right? I'm a lot more intentional on the phone. I know what I'm doing, right?
Yeah.
And I know what I want, and I have my process, and I know the prices and that sort of thing. But yeah, it's really just not looking all over the place, right? Different little towns here and there, different areas, either Florida or I was looking at Niagara Welland at one point, right? I was looking at like small towns in Calgary, looking all over the place. And when you're doing that and you're just jumping around to a bunch of different markets, it's a lot harder to gain traction, right? So yeah, I would
Yeah.
have just been just focusing in on one market and hammering it.
See, I'm glad you know what you want. So tell me what you want, what you really want. That's kind of just going
Fucking
through my
deal,
head.
man. The fucking deal. That's what I want.
But no, but yeah, honestly, I never actually realized how important that was like because I've heard Ben say it. If someone's jumping from market to market, they don't know what they're doing, right? And I was like that too, right? I'm looking in Alberta, I was looking in Saskatchewan, and I've been mostly in Saskatchewan. And talking to Solo last night, I said, "What market are you in? Saskatchewan, Ontario, Alberta, the States?" And I'm like, "Okay, but what's the market like in each area?" Well, you don't know because you don't see enough data to know what's a good
That's
deal,
the
what's not
thing.
a good deal, what's selling. And I'm like, now I know why Ben said to stick with one market, learn that market, analyze the market, become the professional in that market, and then go to another one if you want to eventually.
Hmm.
Oh, now that I've done that in Saskatchewan now for how long here, I see what sells. I mean, I can look at a property and know if it's worth it or not, right? 'Cause I know if it's going to move fast or if it's going to sit forever. But between what we would do differently, biggest challenge is working full time. I know for me, it's finding time to actually do the calls in between, and it's a lot of late nights. And most people aren't willing to sacrifice staying up till 2 in the morning just
Hmm.
to make a side hustle work. But the real question I got is when do you know you're ready to go full time into this? For me, well, like I thought I was gonna be ready this February. That was my biggest thing. I was like, okay, my goal is set February, but some things just don't go as planned. I'm still set to hopefully this year sometime. But for me, it's once you have enough money saved up where you could go 6 months without having to work, that'll pay all your expenses. It's just knowing you have that little nest egg there, I guess, for emergencies and all that. But what's your opinion?
Yeah.
When do you know to go full time?
I mean, it's all dependent on your comfort level, right? It's all It's just dependent on the person. Some people go full steam into it, burn all bridges, they don't give a shit, and now they're successful. And then if it doesn't pan out, then they go do something else, right? It's just like I said, that's hard to tell. That's hard to tell. That's just it's really just based on your personal comfort and what's going on, what situation you're in life at this point, and that's it, right? Like if you're really strapped for cash and you don't have money to eat and pay the bills, well, to step away from the job that's kind of keeping you afloat is tough, right? But I mean,
Yeah.
if you're a little bit more comfortable and you do have a little bit more time, or maybe you could go work part time a little bit and focus in on the business side, it's just, yeah, it's all dependent on the person. That's hard to say.
But that's so true though, dependent on the person. Like it's funny. So I talk to people all the time, even my friends. Oh, I need to make more money. Oh, I wish I had more money. I wish I had a better career. And it's the money that's not that makes the person. It's how you spend it. I mean, I
Yeah,
know doctors in debt. I know, high paying peer, high paying jobs, people that, are living paycheck to paycheck because you know what, the more you make, the more you spend and you don't live within your means, right? So every person, like you said, is right. Have different goals, different lifestyles that they can live cheaper, so they don't need as much to survive. I know for me, I used to think too, like when's enough's enough? Like what amount of money do I need? And I used to think like, is it 1 million, 2 million, 4 million? And then after listening to Ben talk, is all you need is enough to be financially free.
yeah.
Or when people can't tell you what to do, right? That's the end goal. You can either spend the rest of your life chasing as much money as you want and become a billionaire, but again, to just get to a point where the more money you make, the more problems you're going to have, and the more headaches you have to deal with, right? You want to have that happy spot where you're not worried about, paying the bills, you're not worried about grocery prices, and you can actually just spend time and do what you actually enjoy. Now, one question would be, so if someone works a 9 to 5 right now, what should they actually be doing every day to get their first deal? And I know for me, as working, like I said, 9 to 5 right now as it is, I try and do 10 leads a night, 10 RBMs. I have little goals, right? Like little things set up that I know are easy enough to achieve where I'm not gonna look at it and go, "Oh, this is too tough. I don't want to do this tonight." Where it's like, you just got to do those 10 leads, get them in there, get ready to call them on the weekend. But what about you, Jeff? What do you think about that?
Honestly, I think the easiest way to go about it is just to simplify it. You can do get home from work, open up realtor.ca, whatever your market you're looking at, see what properties have been on the market for longest, pick the five of them, give them a call. Start with that. Start with that, right? You have to start somewhere. That's the easiest way to do it. These are the five that have been the longest. Let's see if they're willing to take 70% on the dollar, 60% on the dollar, whatever it is, right? See if they're willing to make a deal. There's a reason why they haven't moved and they've been on the market for so long, right? See what they're willing to do with that. And then just start with that, right?
Yeah.
And then kind of build from there. I'd say that's 5 phone calls when you get home. How long does it take to go in and sort a list by longest days on market, right? That's two
I
seconds.
mean, 5
Put
calls
in your
should
buy
take me longer
box.
than 30 minutes.
Exactly. Put it, your buy box, right? Flip the list, see what's been on the longest, give those guys a call and see what's going on, right? Start with that. And then
So
you can get more, more, more into the nitty gritty of what you're looking for, right? But like I said, at least start somewhere and keep it as simple as possible.
so since we're talking about calls now, and we're already halfway through this episode, I want to get to our next topic, which is how to build confidence as a new investor. I know, like for me, the job I work, I'm on the phone all day long selling services, and I've done sales for a long time. But I have talked to other students that were teachers or just not in the type of industry we're in. They're nurses as well. And like talking to Solo last night as well, is like, how far have you made it, right? And he's got the leads, but not the calls. And everyone's afraid to pick up the phone and start dialing. And I know even as much as you do it, you do still get that little second of nervousness of what's going to happen. But it's really not as bad as they think it is, right? So to build confidence, for me, my opinion would be just start calling. Just make conversations. Don't even try and negotiate. Just at least you're on the phone talking, making connections. Like I know I still don't drop my anchor price on the first call. I get as much information as I can, get their motivation on it, let me know if they're actually willing to negotiate. And I just tell them I got to crunch my numbers and talk to my partners, and I'll get back to you. And I'll call them back that same day, or I'll call them back the next day after I know what my anchor price is, and then I drop it. Because when you're easing into it, then just chatting for 5 minutes and just dropping the anchor price. I know there's tricks to it as well, like drop the anchor price and say nothing. That works for a lot of people. I know you're like that. You're blunt. You're just straightforward. Here's my anchor price. Take it or leave it. If not, I'll call your neighbor. So, what's one tip you got there
Oh,
for building confidence?
it's not quite like that. I like to sneak it in there, right? Is what it is. And I'm like, I'm willing to offer this. They probably won't take it, but what do you think? Oh no, definitely not. Okay, then where do we need to be, right? It's just that art of that conversation, right? And going back, but at least you let them know what you're thinking about, right? Or I let them know too, right? Like, this is what I'm willing to give you, and I know I can get you that money ASAP because at this price, I really like the deal and I'll get it done and I'll close right away, right? I'm
Yeah.
basically giving you all the leverage, right? I'm giving away all of my leverage. I just want my price. And, you either go for it or you don't at that point, right? But yeah, you see it on these calls sometimes, right? People are just they're nervous about doing it. If you're nervous about dropping the anchor price, like you said, just don't do it for now. At least build the rapport. You can kind of see where they're at. You can gauge, if they've had multiple offers. Like if you build that rapport and just the way you word things and the way you go about the conversation, you can kind of see where you need to be, if they're willing to budge or not. Like if they're really looking for your consumer buyer to get max price, if they're an older investor or something like that that has money, that's able to sit on this property for a while, like they're not going to let it go for cheap, right? So you can always get a little bit of information from your conversations, right? But really that's all it is. And you just, I guess for me, the biggest piece of advice is don't be so hard on yourself, especially on those first couple of calls, because everybody stumbles through them. Nobody's a master, nobody's a wizard on the phone right off the bat, especially if you haven't been in the industry, if you're just getting into real estate or that sort of thing. So don't worry about that. Drop the ego, drop the emotion, any of that sort of thing. And don't worry about sounding stupid or not knowing what you're talking about. Who cares? It doesn't matter, right? You're just there to have a conversation, to relate with this other person on the phone. And they're just real estate agents. They're just sales representatives. That's all they are, right? They're just representing a seller that wants to sell a product that you want to potentially buy and get a deal on. That's really all it is. You're not calling the prime minister or some celebrity or something like that, right? Nothing that you should be nervous about. They're just salespeople. They're just regular people with jobs like you and me. Some may have more information. Some are nicer than others, right? It's like anything, like anybody that you deal with. Some personalities are easier to deal with. Some are more direct, more hard asses. And personally, I like those because then I can be more direct, and you don't really have to, sugarcoat your conversation or anything like
Yeah.
that. You just kind of get to business and see what they want and what you want, and it's a lot more efficient, right? But like I said, yeah, you don't worry so much. Like I find people are their own biggest critics, is what it is. So you hype it up in your head, and then you get all nervous, and then you get on the call, and then you're all, your adrenaline's going a little bit, and then you stumble a little bit. So like say if you don't answer right away, say if you take a couple of seconds to think about something and to formulate your response, you don't have to keep yammering on and that sort of thing, right? Just it's all right. It's all right. Like it's just a conversation. If you fuck up a word or a street name or something, like it just doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Just get on the phone, make the call, put in those reps, and you'll eventually get better.
True, but now another thing is though is so I know you've got equity as well, right? But for someone that doesn't have money, that's the one I find too. The biggest thing is a lot of other students that are afraid to make calls is because they're afraid they have no money, they can't close in the deal, they don't want to do that kind of stuff, and so it's easy enough to say, oh yeah, just go ahead and make the calls. It's easy to do, the money will come, and everyone always says, come from where? And I was one of those critics as well, and it's true, right? The money is there. There is abundance of it, and that's where connections you need to make to have that sitting there. But, the biggest thing is when you're making those offers and making those calls, don't be afraid to look up the contract, right? As long as you have conditions in place, you can
Yeah.
get out of it. So, I mean, just because you made a deal, made an offer, doesn't mean you're locked in. You have to buy that house no matter what, right? So send out contracts, send out letter of intents, get as much as you can out there. But the biggest thing I would say, another big tip would be get used to rejection. People have a
Yeah.
hard time accepting rejection, and they get rejected once and then they're scared to make the next call. And I've seen that in skills labs over and over again where someone will get a bad realtor that's having a bad day and the guy loses their shit on them, and all of a sudden they're afraid to make the next call because they're worried that person's going to be mean too. And you know what? You maybe get 2 out of 10 people that are just dicks. They're not all like that. And even at work, like teaching these guys how to sell services and all that stuff, You hand them a $4,000 bill. You say, call this customer. And like you said, they hype themselves up. They're like, well, what if he asks me this? What if he says no? What if he gets mad? I'm like, just make the call. And they make the call, and it's like, oh, yeah, go ahead, get those parts in order. Let me know when they're going to be here. That's so tough. You wasted 20 minutes about what are all these what ifs. It took a 2-minute phone call, and the parts are on their way now. So you literally waste more time overthinking it than you actually do on the phone. Pick up the phone, go through the call. Doesn't work out, great, grab the next one. Also, I've noticed in this stage it's a lot harder because there's a lot of people wholesaling properties. People go watch a YouTube video, they see a TikTok come rolling through here, and then every 18-year-old kid thinks they can just go wholesale houses. So there's a lot of time wasters that these realtors deal with. So yes, they do have their guard up a lot more than what they do in Canada. Yeah, don't be afraid to make the calls. They're humans just like us. That's what they signed up to do. That's their job. They want to sell real estate. Yes, it's their livelihood. So they do defend them. And you know what? Majority of realtors do have egos. I mean, they don't want to be the one known to have to, lost their client money. But that's where you make connections with them. And I mean, if you do leave off on a good foot with the realtor, they put you in their list. A lot of them have a list of investors that they deal with specifically, that when they come across a good deal, they like that person. So they bring that deal to them first before they share it out to everybody else. So connections is everything on that. Another one was fear of losing money, Jeff. Did you ever have the fear of losing money? To me, it's only if you pull conditions on a deal that you're not actually planning on closing. And that's why Ben says don't put an offer on something unless it's something you're actually willing to close yourself.
Yeah. Well,
What's your opinion?
I mean, that's where the whole underwriting process comes in, right? Again, that's why we're looking to get a deal up front, throw out the paperwork, get it under contract if you can at, 85, 80%, whatever you're comfortable with, right? Whatever you feel is a good number that you would potentially be willing to pay. But then you put in your conditions, right? Unless you're getting something at a real deep discount and you know for sure that this is a great deal at that price, right? Then maybe you can go in with no conditions, right? But even that, you should still schedule a walkthrough or just simple, right? You're just not putting financing conditions and that sort of thing, right? But at least give yourself, a week, right? 5 days, 7 days, and you lock it up under contract, and then you have that time to pull comparables, to call around, to see if the numbers make sense, to figure out, what your margins are going to be, how much it's going to cost for insurance, for bills, for carrying costs, for the lender, just all that nitty gritty, right? So
Yeah.
there's no point getting deep into that stuff, doing all of that analysis on the front end on a property if they're not even willing to take a 3% cut on it, right? There's no point. That's why, like for me personally, I don't even input the leads until I've had a conversation, right? I'm looking at my leads, right? I'll pull up a bunch of tabs on Zillow, and I'll go through them and I'll just start making calls. And then whoever picks up and I talk to them and I have a conversation, then I go in and input it into the system, right? And do that time. And then if I have it under contract, that's when I'm doing the underwriting and doing the deep diving and figuring out what your max allowable would be on that and if the deal makes sense. But until then, right, there's no point. I find a lot of people get stuck on it. They get stuck on all the numbers and the comparables and this and that and whether or not it makes sense and what's going on in the area and is there population growth? What's the demographic? What are the sort of jobs? What are the income? Like that's all market research that you can do on the front end when you're looking at an area, right? But in the
Yeah.
end, pick up the phone, make a call, see if they're willing to work with you right off the bat, and if they're willing to make a deal with you. If not, if they're stubborn and they just want their sticker price, they just want the price that's advertised, then you say, okay, no problem. This one's probably not going to work for me. It doesn't fit for me. Like I'm an investor. I'm looking to make money, and I'm looking to get a deal off the front end. I have cash. I can close quickly, right? We can work on your terms as long as I'm comfortable with the price, right? And if they're not willing to do that, then you put it on the back burner and you say, okay, you know what? I'll follow up with you in a couple of weeks and see where we are with this, right? And that's really all it is. Just don't get into that analysis paralysis mode, and then you're not making the calls and that sort of thing. Or you've done all this work on the front end and then you give them a call and they're not willing to budge at all on price. So what the hell was
Or
the
it's
point of
sold.
spending? Yeah, what was the point of spending half an hour doing all this analysis when they won't even, they don't want to budge on price.
And I did that too. When I first started out, I would go and analyze the property, and I realized I'm not analyzing something. I'll do a quick analyze just to make sure it's a good deal, and then I'll do a deep dive afterwards. But like you were saying there, I guess the biggest thing too, like you said though, is get the reps in. Like they say, you need to spend
Yeah,
10,000 hours on something before you master it.
yeah.
So it's just picking up the phone and just get calling on it.
I think another big thing too, and I mean we have seen it with some of the students and some of the people that we're working with, and because I mean we've listened to so many calls. It gets to a point where it's like I don't want to listen to other people make calls anymore. But it is what it is, right? You always learn a little bit, and you kind of tailor your approach based on the responses and how people are reacting to them, right? But it really is learning how to be intentional with your phone calls and directing the conversation to where you want it to go. It's all nice to have a conversation for 20, 30 minutes, getting to know each other and being friends and this and that. And then you never get to price or your intention at all, right?
And do
For
not
me, I
lie.
find, yeah, well, that's a huge one. That's a huge one.
That will be
You
that
know,
will catch you in your lies. I've seen students do that where they say they've done something and they haven't, and they will eventually catch you in your lie, and it's awful.
100%. 100%, right? And I mean, it makes you not seem credible, or it just makes you seem like a bullshitter right off the bat. But yeah, 100%. Be honest, right? And be intentional with what you want to do. And listen, they're in the same game that you are. They know what you want. They know you want to find a deal, right? You eventually have to land on a price and that sort of thing, right? To get this done and to get a contract done and to get this inventory moving, right? But like I said, it's all nice to spend 20, 30 minutes making friends with somebody. But if you're not eventually getting to a price or figuring out if the seller is actually willing to make a deal or if they're motivated or that sort of thing, I feel like that's a huge waste of time. Right. And it's
Absolutely.
really getting nowhere. It's just like I said, you really have to direct the conversation to where you want it to go. And I've gotten a lot better at that, especially if it starts getting off topic a little bit. I bring it right back into deal mode. Right. And figuring out if this is going to work for me or not. Right. And then just having that confidence and yeah, just having that confidence to say what you want, right? Make it intentional. This is what I'm looking for. This is my business. This is why I'm doing this, right? And the sort of numbers in the ballpark that you're thinking and get it out there, right? You have to let it be known or else I said then you're just making friends and having conversation for the sake of having conversation. And it really goes nowhere.
Yeah. So, first time talking to a seller, what was it like for you?
It was awkward as shit. It was awkward as shit. I basically just sat there, what's the condition of the roof? You know, what about the air conditioner? Is it still working? Is there any damage? What do I need to fix? What do I need to
Is the fridge
just basic
running? Why don't
yeah,
you go
just
catch it?
basically just grilling them on stupid shit, right?
Yeah.
Is really what it is, right? But now, I've changed that up. And then it's kind of going through your checklist, right? And then it was a very just transactional conversation is what it was and just super awkward, right? Whereas now it's at the point where, I'm trying to figure out, is this actually a good neighborhood to put your money into it? Like, is this something that you would invest in? Uh, can you teach me a little bit about what's going on? Because everybody likes to share their knowledge and,
Stroke their ego.
it makes them feel important that they're teaching you something. And, it's you have to play on that, right? You really have to play on that aspect of the game. And yeah, it's a little bit of ego, but everybody likes to explain why they're in this business, how long they've been in the business for, why I'm so good at it, and basically like sell themselves, right? So you play in on that and then you start picking up information about the property in the area and whether or not it's a good fit for you or not.
The other big thing I would say is drop your intentions at the beginning. I mean, and then Cardone says that as well. Is on any phone call, tell them what your intention is. Get it out in the air, right? There's
Yeah.
nothing hidden on it because if you just say, "Hey, just call about this property got listed here," I'm an investor. I work with a group of investors. We're looking for the next fix and flip. We're looking for our next property, our next deal. And like Ben says, it's key words in the conversation that will help steer it your way. Like when you're saying
hmm
you're looking for your next deal, well, now they know you're going to want a deal. I mean, you're not just dropping anchor price and surprising them. I know with my first time talking to a seller, I made an offer in it. That was when I bought my cabin. Didn't know much about it, and I just lowballed. I just said, "What's a price that's ridiculous? If I get it for that price, great. If not, then it is what it is." And I lowballed. And of course, every agent I've dealt with so far tries this. Oh, we got multiple offers. Oh, we've gotten multiple offers. You need to come up with your offer higher. So as long as you stand your ground and stick to your numbers and don't get caught up in the hype, I see this happen too many times in auctions, just buying stuff on auction, right? Where people just get excited, just lifting their hand and buying stuff, and you go look at the price of what it costs inside the store to what you just paid for an auction. You just paid triple the value of it because you got caught up in the game. So the same
Yep.
thing goes with real estate. Don't just jump for it, right? Stick to your guns, stick to your offer, stick to your price, and don't let them. I think this was gonna say earlier was following up. Following up is so important. I've
Huge.
lost so many deals not following up. Bailey, as a realtor, lost so many clients by not following up because we don't want to list right now. She puts them on the back burner. Literally 3 weeks later, all of a sudden they're listing a property to another agent because she didn't follow up with them. Or there's a house in town I wanted to buy. I offered 70 grand for it. They declined it. I didn't follow up. I was thinking about doing it and just sold for 75,000. So that's how close we were to the margin. It was originally $130,000, and that would have been a smoking deal because I would have made probably 100K on that house. Like, it was worth a lot if someone was willing to go in there and fix it up. So following up is a big thing. The first offer I ever made, again, it was a low ball. And she literally was an old school realtor. She made me go sit down with the actual homeowners, which is technically a no-no. But when you're from a small town, that's what they want you to do. They want to see
Yeah,
who's
whatever.
buying their house and whatever. And it worked. I mean, I got a great deal. What was like for your first offer made?
I mean, the first offer I made, I didn't even see the damn place. Actually, no, the property that we bought in Florida, we bought it sight unseen. Right? It was just it was a good price, and we got into. If I knew now, I would have whittled it down even more. Right? And actually pulled the proper comparables and all that sort of thing. But I mean, we still got that one at a really good price, and we knew it needed work. Right? But yeah, we threw it in sight unseen, took the risk, went down there, and fixed it up, cleaned it up, and got it done. Right? So yeah, it was a little bit nerve wracking, but I mean, we were in Ontario, right? We were in
Yeah.
Toronto, and we were buying a property in Florida. And it'd be nice if I can just go back and forth all the time. But we don't
Soon.
have
If you
that
buy a private
luxury,
jet, just
right?
lease it out.
Yeah, soon enough, right?
Yeah,
We'll
just buy a
eventually get
private
there.
jet and lease it out. You only use it when
Yeah,
you need to.
but I mean, it wasn't, it wasn't super nerve wracking or anything. It's something that we wanted, and we kind of understood the prices down there and what was going on. So it was still priced well compared to the other comparable properties in the area there. And yeah, just jumped and got it done, right? Eventually you have to throw your money at something, right? Instead of it just sitting in the bank,
That's the
because
worst.
the longer it just sits around, the less and less value it has. So you have to at least beat inflation so that your money just stays stable, right?
Yeah.
If you actually want to grow with it, it's got to be more than that, right? So
More stable
it's
than
all
my
working in the
mustache.
margins.
Another question I got here is what made you finally feel like you were actually an investor? And I would say for me, it's getting your first deal, closing on your first deal, getting your first win feels like, like you actually know what you're doing, right? What
Mhm.
about you? When does it finally feel like you're actually an investor?
When you stop really caring about the emotional side of it and the
True.
properties themselves, right? And you start just looking at them as a product and as something to be able to leverage and grow your wealth is really all it is, right? It's just thinking differently about it. Because I always thought, investments were like stocks or crypto or metals or, rental properties as well. It's just being in the GTA market that's kind of been thrown out the window for quite a few years now, unless you're doing big development projects or something like that. It's hard to cash flow, or unless you're really outside the GTA. I mean, even in the cheaper markets in Ontario, it's still really tough to find 1% rule unless you have, an upstairs and a basement unit. But yeah, once you start thinking about it that way, right? That it's just, like I said, it's just a box, right? It's just a box. It's just a vehicle to leverage to grow your wealth.
Yeah. It's funny how you said product. Have you seen that meme yet about the McDonald's CEO?
I haven't seen it. I've heard about it.
No,
But I
he's
do
got this
need to
big
watch
heart.
it. Yeah.
He
Yeah.
pulls it out. He's like, "Oh, this is our new product." So instead of saying like it's our new sandwich, it's our new thing,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna take a big bite for a big arch, and he literally just takes a little chunk and goes, "That's a big bite," and then the media broke up over it, and
Is that
now
what it
he's
was
like
all about?
literally, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I
It
saw the
was the
memes. I
funniest
saw
thing
the
is he looked
memes.
so scared to bite it.
And I think the Burger King guy actually took a serious bite out of his.
He did, and then Wendy's did it, and then Wendy says, "You know, we like a square," and commented on his social media. Yeah, it's funny how one thing can just go viral like that and just
Yeah,
explode, right? But
yeah.
it's also such a crazy thing to watch what you post or how you market yourself, because all it takes is one bad post to literally, destroy you, right? Elon Musk is really good for that kind of stuff. Like his markets jump up and down because he'd make one random tweet or thing on X, and all of a sudden the market just goes wild, right? Same thing with Donald Trump. He says something, and next thing you know, stocks are dropping or they're skyrocketing. So real
Elon doesn't have as much motion as he used to, though. That's kind of settling a little bit more.
Mhm.
People are kind of they're smartening up to that one. So,
Or his subliminal messaging with the whole Doge thing. It's funny because my girlfriend's dad there, when we were talking about investments and like, I bought my cabin, I make money on that. He thought it was a good idea. Afterwards, he hated it at first, but then all of a sudden he wanted to do it.
yeah.
Well, then I buy stocks, dividend stocks, whatever, right? Because they
Mhm.
grow slowly over time. You're making money. He decided to put $15,000 into XRP. It was like $4.50 a coin or whatever. Well, the recent check-in on it is $1.90. So that's
Yeah, I mean, crypto's all taking a big hit right now, right? So
but
it
to
will
lecture me
rebound. But
on
I
my
mean, XRP
investments and then you go
at
do something like
$4,
that,
yeah, that's a little high. That's a little high.
right? Right? To lecture me on my investments and then you go do something like that. So, I ain't gonna go too far on that. But now, I guess one tip for people working full time, one tip of confidence, and what is one tip to a mistake to avoid?
I guess for people working full time, I mean, we had already that's we kind of went over it a little bit before, right? I mean,
You're good at recapping.
that's
Recap for everyone, Jeff. You make it way easier than
yeah,
my Saskatchewan accent.
yeah. Like I said, best thing you can do: pick a market, do some market research. It's very easy now with AI, Grok, ChatGPT. I've been using what's the other one? Claude. Claude is
Claude's
really
good.
good. Claude's good for building processes and doing analysis and putting together spreadsheets and like business type stuff. It's actually really good. But yeah,
Yeah.
we have that, right? We have those tools. So do market research, pick one market, stick to that market, find your buy box. We do single family homes, so look at that, 3 bed, 1+ bath. Sort the list by uh, listings that have been on the market the longest. Take 5 a day, make some calls, see if they're willing to take a deal. Shouldn't take you that long. You can get home, have your coffee, make your calls, go make dinner, and then you can chill. Then at least you've done something productive. Then you can go watch some fucking TV and shit. You know what I mean? At least
Wait,
you've done
wait. So we
something.
can make dinner before the podcast? Oh, wait,
Not
not
today.
everybody gets those luxuries.
Dude, who eats that late though, man? You should have eaten already. That's your damn
Man, our
fault.
time zones are totally different, but we
That's
make it work, right? So it's funny how you
exactly.
just answered the last question. It was, okay, so picture this. You work full time, you have no deals yet, you feel stuck. What should you do first? And for me, it would be go on Grok, to put in your area, your province, your state. What's the best town that's growing fast, best market? Find that. Go to the MLS system like realtor.com, realtor.ca, and literally go to your oldest listings and just start picking up the phone.
Yep.
Find the first house, the oldest listing, call them and get answers, get some motivation. That's what I would do. If you're stuck, that is the first thing you do to get going.
Yep. That's the easiest way. It's not complicated, right? And you're building your skill set. They're free leads. You're not paying for your leads. They're already there. They're already on the market. They've been sitting for a while, especially if you see ones that have taken multiple price cuts, even better. If they need some work, I mean, we talked about this before, what to look for, right? I don't know if that was the last episode or the one before it, but yeah,
Probably
look at it.
fundamentals of the deal.
Yeah, qualify it, give them a call. Don't worry about anything else. Just give them a call, have a conversation, see if they're willing to make a deal. If not, move on to the next one and do that 5 of them. 5 calls a day, start with that. Shouldn't take very long at all, less than an hour, and then go about your day.
And if you have to, get an accountability buddy. Like, get someone like Jeff, who will just be harsh and blunt. Like, did you actually do anything today? And, don't fuck around, get shit done. Those are the kind of motivational messages we used to get from Jeff. Not so much anymore, because now we have discipline. But get an accountability buddy that's actually going to push you and make sure that you do those calls. Because, again, people freeze up. You put the the deal in, you get to the phone call stage and you're about to push the numbers, and then you just stop and you do something else. People, like Ben says, will always do parking lot items. They'll do the easier stuff first instead of the hard stuff. And that's why there's that book there, you Eat That Frog or whatever it is, where you do the hard stuff first, get it out of the way, tackle it down first, and do the easy stuff later. And I know
Yep.
I was bad for that, and I still can be bad for that, where I'd rather do marketing than phone calls. But does marketing make me money? Absolutely not.
Not
It's the phone
yet.
calls, it's the deals.
Not
Not
yet.
yet, but you know what? You still need to network. So it's still an important aspect of it. And that's kind of where me and Jeff work together really well is, again, he's really more numbers driven and data, and I'm all about networking. So you put those two together and you got a powerhouse. So I think we're just over an hour here now. Again, these times go by really fast. I think we're ready to wrap it up. What do you think, Jeff?
I think so. I think that was a good one.
Absolutely. Well, thanks everyone for listening to Hustle and Homes. We are learning, investing, and building in real time. If you enjoyed this episode, hit follow, hit subscribe, share this with someone who wants to get into real estate, and help us grow the show. We drop new episodes every week, so don't miss the next one. So until then, keep hustling, keep building, and keep closing.
Hustle and home! Pick up the phone and start dialing. No more waiting, no more smiling. Pressure rising, we keep climbing. Telephone warriors, perfect timing. Sell the vision, close the deal. Brick by brick, make it real.